Hello, everybody. I'm back here with a rare YouTube video. Usually, as most of you guys from Instagram know, I usually just focus on Instagram. But after yesterday's game, where the Raiders played against the Saints, I want to talk about the state of the season, where to go from here, and what to do now. Because there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of uncertainty, and everything. And I kind of just want to speak my mind on it. Usually, as you guys know, I would usually post all this on Instagram, but I kind of feel like I need a video format because I'm going to be talking for a while. So let's talk about it. Obviously, as we know, Raiders lost yesterday 0-24 to the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. That's the Raiders' first shutout since 2014 when they played the then St. Louis Rams and lost 0-52. Obviously, now that drops the Raiders to 2-5. There's obviously a lot of questions. Everybody played bad. Why did we play so bad? Did Coach McDaniels not have us ready? Did Mr. Davis make the wrong hire and all that? So, let's just talk about that. Like I said, from the very beginning, I kind of feel like the Raiders team as a whole was not prepared. You know, you watch them play, and at the very first second, it just looked off. Aside from I don't know what it was, an 11-yard game from Jacobs where he dragged the defenders across the line of scrimmage. There was no other good offensive efficiency or anything. First drive started with Derek overthrowing Matt Collins, who usually catches those kind of passes, and then Jacobs getting a few yards, but not enough. After that, case closed. They sucked. They got their bottoms handed to them, to put it lightly, right? They got beat hard. There's no other way to say, but there's no other way to talk about it. Defense didn't play well. Carr threw a pick. He should have thrown two, to be honest with you. Running wasn't good. You know, obviously the Saints defensive front found out a way to stop Josh Jacobs, and that was that. Pretty much from the moment they stepped on the field, it was wraps. It was bad. So obviously, now that drops the Raiders to 2-5. I'm very disappointed in this team. It seemed like yesterday they had no sense of urgency. There was nothing going for us. No sense of urgency, no heart. They just seemed like they just gave up kind of sort of after the third quarter. I mean, at that scoreline, I think at the time it was 0-17? You can't blame them, but have some heart. Didn't seem like they had heart. It was just done. It was gone. It was one of those games where the Raiders have those games every year where they just sink. And that was this game. But obviously, with the amount of firepower the Raiders have on both sides of the ball, I mean, you don't expect that. And so, obviously, with that, there's a lot of questions. And trade deadline is tomorrow. I'm recording this on October 31st. And November 1st is the NFL trade deadline. So now you got to think, where does the Raiders go from here? That's what I kind of want to talk about. On social media right now, it's fire. It's fire, and you keep throwing more oil at it, and it gets fiery more and more fiery. I mean, it's a mess. Fans talking about let's trade the whole roster, and let's cut Derek Carr, let's send him for Stidham, and let's fire McDaniels, and pretty much they want to fire everybody without realizing that if you fire everybody, or if you trade the whole roster like they want to, right? All these couch GMs, if you do all that, I mean, you're playing third stringers that are going to be even worse. Pretty much what the nation wants to do right now fixes nothing. I mean, this team's already broken as it is, but you don't want to break it even further, right? So, first of all, I want to talk about this Carr and Stidham stuff. You guys need to stop with that agenda, Raider fans. Please stop with that. If we had Stidham as a full-time starter, we would be even worse than we are now. Stidham does not have what it takes to be even a gap starter. He's not good. Say what you want about him throwing 3 passes, 71 yards late in garbage time against New Orleans, but he was doing that against third stringers because New Orleans sat their starters, and rightfully so. I mean, at that point the game was over. So you guys need to stop with that, because if Stidham was starting, we would be more screwed. With that, now let's talk about this whole let's trade these guys and trade those guys. So obviously Raiders are 2-5. it seems like they're in no position to be buying players right now. So obviously, if you're not in a position to buy players, you're going to want to sell them. So with that, there's a lot of rumors about Jonathan Abram and Cleve Farrell and Denzel Perryman and Foster Maru. I've even heard, all these coach GMs say, and that's all fine and dandy. But at the same time, you want to trade players who can make an impact in the short term, meaning that they could say, and I don't know if we're going to get saved from 2-5 right now. It doesn't look good, but I'm just speaking theoretically, right? They can theoretically save us from a 2-5 hole that we've dug ourselves into, and you want to trade those guys. Now, obviously, if you can get good compensation, like a third, fourth, fifth, or whatever they think they're worth, then yeah, you move them. But if not, what does that fix? That fixes nothing. That's what you call damage control, okay? And that fixes nothing. So I don't agree with that side of it either. Obviously, it does sound like we're going to trade Abram by tomorrow's deadline, which I'm totally fine with. They have Harman, they have Moreg, they have a few other guys that they can play for short term while we find a long term replacement at strong safety. Same goes for Cleve Farrell. He's been playing a little bit better this year, but that contract, I think we owe him $9 million this year, something like that. Get that thing out of here. That's all I can say. So yeah, like I said, if you can get the right compensation, you make the trades. If not, you're creating damage control, which could put us even in an even bigger hole. And while the Raiders may not want to admit it right now, because obviously they don't want to admit that we're selling, but we probably should, even though those players that these couch GMs want to trade, it kind of wouldn't make sense unless, like I said, you get the correct compensation in return. And so that creates even more problems. That could possibly take McDaniels in a situation where he's losing the locker room. And then I've heard, trade Josh Jacobs. Now, Josh Jacobs, I don't want to see us trade him, and I would genuinely be very depressed if we do. I think you could tag Jacobs and figure out his contract later. I don't see any way you do that. I don't see why you would even trade him. I mean, even if it was for a third, you keep him right now. He is the heartbeat of the offense, and yeah, that's that. So now, obviously after all that, now there's the questions about Derek Carr. So Derek Carr obviously did not play good yesterday, and he's been kind of so-so the whole entire season. Now, the Raiders are 2-5, and I'm not saying anything, but you guys got to think about it like this, okay? Raiders are 2-5. They lose like 3 more games, it's over, okay? We even lose against Jacksonville next Sunday, it's over. Anyways, think about it this way. You guys want Carr gone, but we would have nobody else that's even worth starting if we got rid of Carr, or even if we benched him. So, I mean, you got to kind of sit through the season and realize that, hey, just wait it out, see what happens. I mean, who knows? I've been thinking about this today. Who knows? Maybe this is that season where we can get our future franchise passer in the draft. I mean, we're 2-5, so right now anything can happen. Right now, the Raiders hold the 6th overall selection in the NFL draft next year. With that, I mean, maybe we we start losing more and we find ourselves in a situation to go get like a Bryce Young or a C.J. Stroud or a Will Levis or Hendon Hooker. One of those guys. And I mean, if that's the case, then end all be all, Raider Nation will be happy. You could play Carr for one last year, and then do the Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith thing where you swap them out after that 1 year passes. So I mean, if that's what it takes to get a passer, and if Raider fans are happy with it, then that's that. Now with the Raider Nation, it's all about knee-jerk reactions, and it's really sad because now I want to talk about Josh McDaniels. And let me say this, okay? I really think the biggest problem with the Raiders right now is the coaching staff. I do. Because look you guys got to think about it like this. You could have all the talent in the universe. You could have Devontae Adams, Jonathan Taylor, Tom Brady, Roquan Smith. You could have Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Brown, all of those guys, right? You could have all the talent. You could have, I don't know, the 07 Patriots roster on your roster, right? But, none of it matters if you can't execute. And I feel like that's what Raiders fans are forgetting. I feel like they're forgetting none of that matters if you can't execute. Right now, the Raiders cannot execute. Play calls need to be better. The coaches don't seem like they're putting the players in the right positions that they need to be in. Something is off coaching wise. And I read a tweet from somebody that retweeted something. And it was Eagles are 7-0, and the Raiders are 2-5. Nick Sirianni, the Eagles coach, is fitting his schemes around the players' best talents. Right now, it kind of seems like McDaniels is getting cute and trying to fit the his scheme around the players instead of fitting it to their strengths. And so I think that's another big issue right now. Is that is obviously not working, and McDaniels does not want to shy away from that because he thinks that's what's best. And sometimes you guys, as sad as this season has been, like I said, it might benefit us in the long run. Sometimes patience is a virtue. Okay? And really, I think that if we give McDaniels and Ziegler more time, maybe they figure it out. You would obviously hope. If it involves Carr going, then so be it. I mean, it is what it is at this point. At this point, they got to be open to anything. Mark Davis just put out a statement, said something along the lines of Josh McDaniels will be the coach for years to come, giving him 2 years to figure it out, to set the foundation. And like I said, sometimes patience is a virtue. So, based off what Mr. Davis said, we really have to see that as fair game, right? My bad, guys. We really have to see that as fair game. And we just have to respect the fact that Mark Davis is sticking to his guns. And see what happens. I mean, it's sad, but like I said, patience is a virtue, and some of us just need to chill out and see what happens instead of going on Twitter and saying all these things about blowing it up and doing damage control. Because again, that fixes nothing. That really fixes nothing. We would be in an even worse position. Here's what some of the fans don't recognize, okay? We would be in an even worse position if we listened to them dictate what they're dictating on Twitter and actually did that, as an organization. And then what would happen is we would suck so bad, like the Carolina Panthers, and they would want to go back to what we had before the fact they said blow it up. And so, like I said, sometimes the nation is all knee-jerk reactions. It's really sad. Some of the fans fail to look at a bigger picture. And so that's my points on it. This season, I think I have to lower expectations. I think I just have to temper them, see what happens. Try not to let the Raiders ruin my holiday season. We're about to enter November. Thanksgiving's coming up soon, so, but at this point, just see what happens. Enjoy the games for what they are, because after the season's over in probably January, early January, because I don't know if we're making the playoffs. Right now, we're probably not. But enjoy the games for what they are. See what happens, and just hope that we figure it out. And so who knows, maybe this season was just a bump in the road where we acquire some stuff for the future and just reboot and we're good again. It's kind of sad though, really, because we went 10-7 last year. We made the playoffs, and yeah, we should have expected McDaniels to put his own flavor on it and kind of struggle, but not this bad. This season has just been really bad. So with that, Raider Nation, I encourage you guys to, if you guys are going to say something, whether it be, trade Carr or complete a fire sale or fire McDaniels or, Carr's to blame or something, stick to what you're going to say. Don't be fair weather and change it. If you guys are going to say something out there, especially on the media, social media, stick to it, right? Be proud of what you say. Own it. Don't be wishy-washy like all the other people on Twitter. Because right now, Raiders Twitter is nothing but wishy-washy and overreactions. That's exactly what it is. In no way am I saying that this Raiders season has been acceptable, because it hasn't by any means. But patience is a virtue at Raider Nation, and sometimes we just got to stick with it, go with the flow, and see what happens. Raiders are 2-5. Got to enjoy the rest of the season, see what happens. And we go from there. Maybe we make some trades tomorrow or in the coming hours here to boost up some of our weak positions. But, we'll see what happens. Anyways, Raider Nation, that's all I wanted to say. I hope I made my points clear. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys share it. But I just had to get that out. I was thinking about that while I was in class today. Um, that was kind of eating at my mind, and I really wanted to say what I wanted to say. So, yeah. And I mean, look, if we don't retain McDaniels, there's plenty of other good head coaches out there. We can figure out a new coaching stuff. But with that, Raider Nation, that's